At 11:42 a.m. on January 27, 1945, Staff Sergeant Robert Chen was hunched at the B-29 Central Fire Control Station, high above the Pacific. Ice crystals formed along the inside of the plexiglass as Square 52 climbed through 28,000 feet. Chen was 22. He had flown 11 combat missions over Japan. He had no confirmed victories. That morning, Japanese radar and airfields had responded fast. At least 40 fighters were already in the air, racing to intercept the strike force headed for Tokyo. Within the 497 Bombardment Group, Chen was the youngest man assigned to a gun position. His grip on the control handles was calm, almost detached. Through them, he commanded 4 remotely operated turrets spaced along the Superfortress's fuselage, each armed with twin .50 caliber machine guns. He had used them in combat before, twice over Nagoya, once along the coast, but never with visible results. No spiraling wreckage, no parachutes, nothing to mark a kill. Since November, the 73rd Bombardment Wing had been operating out of Saipan, and every mission followed the same brutal formula. Bombing runs at extreme altitude, between 28,000 and 30,000 feet, where temperatures dropped to 50 below zero, and jet stream winds battered formations so hard that even skilled bombardiers struggled to stay on target. And every time Japanese fighters climbed to meet them, by mid-January, the cost had become undeniable. 31 B-29s destroyed by fighters and flak, 31 crews, 340 men. The worst day had been January 14th over Nagoya, when 5 Superfortresses were lost in under 20 minutes. Just as encounters with German Panther and Tiger tanks had revealed the weaknesses of American armor in Europe, Japanese interceptors were now exposing the limits of altitude over Japan. The Nakajima Ki-44 could reach 28,000 feet in less than 8 minutes. U.S. intelligence called it the Tojo. Japanese pilots called it Shoki Devil Queller. The name was earned. Armed with 4 12.7mm machine guns or 2 20mm cannons, the Ki-44 performed best where the B-29 struggled most. Thin air, frozen gun mechanisms, and oxygen deprivation gave attacking fighters freedom to make repeated passes with relatively little risk. More dangerous still were ramming attacks. Beginning in August 1944, Japanese pilots had started deliberately striking B-29s after their ammunition was gone. This was not kamikaze doctrine. It was calculation. Trading one fighter for one bomber made sense when the bomber cost $600,000 and carried 11 men trained for half a year. The 47th Sentai, operating from Naramesu Airfield near Tokyo, maintained a dedicated unit for such attacks. American intelligence believed it had destroyed at least 3 B-29s outright and damaged 7 more so badly they were written off after crash landings. Square 52 carried 6 tons of high-explosive bombs in its bomb bay. The target was Tokyo's port infrastructure. Reconnaissance aircraft had reported clear skies. That meant visual bombing. Visual bombing meant holding formation over the target. Holding formation meant giving fighters time to set up clean attack runs. Chen had heard the numbers at the 0400 briefing. 62 B-29s were launching. Intelligence expected 9 losses. The bomber stream crossed the Japanese coastline at 11:58. Radar stations on Honshu detected them immediately. Air raid sirens began sounding across Tokyo. At Naramesu, pilots ran toward fighters already idling on the flight line. At exactly noon, the first Ki-44s lifted off, turning southeast toward the approaching bombers. 43 fighters in total. A Quar-52 was about to face more enemy aircraft than any B-29 had encountered on a single mission. Chen spotted the first interceptor at a distance of 12,000 yards through his optical sight. At first, it was just a dark point, climbing steeply through broken cloud. Then wings became visible. Then the unmistakable radial engine of a Ki-44. At 27,000 feet, the fighter rolled upside down and plunged toward the lead element of the formation. 3 more followed. Chen slewed the upper forward turret to intercept. His guns were mounted 15 feet away, controlled remotely by a system that calculated airspeed, altitude, and forward momentum. Cutting-edge technology, unreliable in 50 below temperatures. At 800 yards, the lead key 44 opened fire. Tracer rounds streaked toward the bombers. Chen fired back. The turret shook as .50 caliber rounds streamed out at 2,800 feet per second. The fighter snap-rolled left and dropped beneath the formation. No hits. It was gone before the fire could connect. By 12:07, the engagement was total. Fighters attacked from every direction. The standard approach was a high side dive from 11 o'clock position, slicing through the formation at nearly 400 miles per hour before breaking away to avoid overlapping defensive fire. Most pilots disengaged before closing to point-blank range. Ramming attacks did not follow that rule. The aircraft commander called out a contact at 2 o'clock high. Chen swung the upper turret. A Key 44 was lining up a beam attack, its nose tracking Squar 52 with precision. Range, 700 yards. Chen led the target and fired a 3-second burst. Armor-piercing, incendiary rounds cut across the fighter's flight path. The Key 44's engine erupted. Thick black smoke burst from the cowling. The fighter rolled upside down and plummeted away, trailing flames. First confirmed kill. Chen did not cheer. Already, 2 more enemy aircraft were maneuvering into position. The B-29's right blister gunner opened fire with his twin .50 calibers. From the tail, another fighter was closing in from 6 o'clock low. Using the central fire control system, Chen linked the lower aft turret to his sight. He tracked the incoming Key 44, squeezed the trigger, and missed. The tail gunner took over, stitching rounds across the fighter's wing. The aircraft shuddered. Sheets of aluminum tore away. The Key 44 went into a flat spin. Second kill credited to Square 52. By 12:19, the formation had reached the initial point for the bomb run, the moment of maximum vulnerability. Bombers would fly straight and level for 6 minutes, while bombardiers synchronized their northern bomb sights. No course corrections. No evasive maneuvers. The Japanese knew this. 14 Key 44s orbited 3,000 feet above, looping once, twice, positioning for coordinated attacks that could overwhelm the B-29's defensive fire. At 12:21, they struck. Chen counted through his sight. 1, 2, 3, 4 fighters diving in pairs from 10 o'clock high and 2 o'clock high simultaneously. Textbook execution. Defensive gunners would have to split fire, leaving individual bombers exposed to multiple attackers. The first pair opened fire at 1,000 yards. Chen engaged the lead fighter. His tracers merged with fire from 2 other B-29s. The Key 44 plowed directly into the stream of rounds. Its canopy shattered, snap rolling to the right. It collided with its wingman. Both disintegrated. 3rd and 4th kills. But the chaos had allowed the second attacking pair to close in. 2 Key 44s were now within 500 yards, closing fast, cannons flashing. Chen swung his sight to track the nearest. The fighter made no evasive moves. Its pilot was committed to a ramming attack. For seconds at impact, Chen held fire. The upper forward turret poured rounds into the fighter's engine cowling. Sparks danced across its nose. Range closed, 300 yards. 200, the fighter trailed smoke but still accelerated. 100. At 12:22, the Key 44 slammed into Square 52's number 3 engine. The collision sounded like a steel hammer striking a locomotive boiler. The fighter's propeller shredded the engine cowling. Metal shrieked. The bomber yawed violently to the right as the propeller tore free, tumbling into the void. The Key 44's wings sheared off. The fuselage cartwheeled over the B-29's back and vanished. Shards of aluminum and steel rained past the gun turrets. Chen felt the whole aircraft shudder. Warning lights flared across the flight engineer's panel. Engine 3 on fire, Engine 4 losing oil pressure. The aircraft commander shut down both right side engines and activated the fire suppression system. Square 52 is now flying on 2 engines, dropping out of formation at 300 feet per minute, alone, crippled, and a perfect target. 3 key 44s broke from the formation and dove on the stricken bomber. They held altitude and speed advantage. Standard doctrine dictated that damaged bombers be destroyed quickly before jettisoning bombs and regaining maneuverability. Chen rotated the upper turret to meet the first attacker, diving from 1 o'clock high. Range, 1,000 yards and closing. The targeting computer required 3 seconds to calculate a solution for a moving target. He forced himself to hold. 800 yards. The Key 44's nose flared under cannon fire. Rounds tore through the bomber's left wing. Hydraulic fluid sprayed from severed lines. 600 yards. Chen fired a 4-second burst. Tracer struck. The fighter's canopy exploded. It rolled left, descending in a trail of debris. 5th kill. The second Key 44 approached from 5 o'clock level. The tail gunner opened fire, hammering with twin .50 S for 6 seconds. The fighter passed through the tracer stream, seemingly unharmed. Closing to 400 yards, the tail gunner's ammunition ran out. Chen slaved the lower aft turret, now sluggish and low on hydraulic pressure, to his sight. He tracked manually, led the target, and fired a 2-second burst. The rounds tore across the fighter's left wing. The structure failed. It tumbled end over end, breaking apart at 12,000 feet. 6th kill. But the third attacker had used the engagement as a diversion. A Key 44 now loomed at 3 o'clock high, 300 yards out, wings level, nose aimed at Square 52's cockpit. Its guns were silent. Ammunition spent. Second ramming attack. The right blister gunner fired, sparks dancing off the fighter's engine. The Key 44 held course. Chen swung the upper turret hard right. Mechanical stop screamed. He fired. Tracers went high. Overcorrected. Fired again. Hit stitched across the fuselage. The fighter shuddered. Still on course. Range 150 yards. The Key 44 struck the bomber's number 1 engine. Propeller disintegrated. Shrapnel tore the wing. Fuel tank ruptured, spraying gasoline into the slipstream. The fuselage split in 2. The tail section tumbled over the flight deck. The cockpit and engine section smashed into the left wing, ripping a 6-foot hole in the leading edge. Square 52 now limped on a single functioning engine, number 2. The bomber was falling through 18,000 feet. Airspeed dropped below 160 miles per hour. Fuel leaked from the damaged wing. Hydraulic pressure was failing. 12 more Japanese fighters were forming up for a third wave. Chen's hands were numb. Inside the unpressurized gun station, the temperature had plummeted to minus 62 degrees. His oxygen mask had frozen solid to his face. Ice coated the optical sight. He scraped it away with a gloved thumb and scanned the incoming attackers. The 12 Key 44s had divided into 3 groups of 4, a textbook Wolfpack formation. One group feigned high, another attacked low, the third poised to exploit any gap. Against fully operational B-29s, this was challenging. Against a crippled bomber with failing hydraulics and partially manned guns, it was lethal precision. Square 52 plunged past 16,000 feet. The single engine struggled against drag from the torn wing. The aircraft commander ordered all non-essential weight jettisoned, ammunition cans, toolkits, survival gear. Every pound counted. The first quartet attacked from 12 o'clock high. Chen tracked the lead at 900 yards. The upper turret responded sluggishly, hydraulic pressure down to 30%. He fired anyway. Recoil rattled the mount. Tracers arched toward the diving fighter. The Key 44 jinked to the right. Chen fired again. This burst struck the fighter's left wing. Fabric tore, internal supports revealed, and the wing folded. The Key 44 snapped and fell. 7th kill. The remaining 3 pressed the attack. At 600 yards, cannon and machine gun fire converged on Square 52 from 3 directions. The bombardier's compartment took multiple hits. Plexiglass shattered. Frigid air rushed in. The 20mm rounds killed him instantly. Chen ignored the impacts. He swung the turret toward the second fighter. The targeting computer was offline. Hydraulics had disabled automatic compensation. He aimed manually, guided by instinct and 11 missions worth of experience. He fired. The round struck low, sparking along the fighter's belly. The key 44 veered left, climbing away with smoke trailing. A probable kill. Chen shifted to the third fighter. Closer now, for 100 yards, diving nearly vertically. He fired a 6-second burst. Gun barrels overheated despite the sub-zero air. Tracers cut across the sky. The key 44 flew directly into them. Hits tore into the engine cowling. The propeller stalled and windmilled. The fighter's nose pitched down. It fell past the left wing at 200 miles per hour, disappearing into the clouds. 8 confirmed kill. The fourth fighter had exploited the chaos, setting up a beam attack from 9 o'clock level, range 500 yards. The left blister gunner opened fire with twin .50s. The key 44 Jink closed at 300 yards and unleashed a long cannon burst. Rounds shredded the bomber's left horizontal stabilizer. Control cable snapped. The aircraft yelled violently. The rudder jammed hard left. The commander fought the controls, applied right aileron, and throttled the single engine to counter the yaw. Chen slaved the lower turret, but the mechanism ground and stuttered, moving only 15 degrees before halting. Hydraulic failure. The tail gunner, still operational and mechanically linked, fired a 4-second burst as the key 44 pulled up. The round struck the tail, separating the rudder. The fighter entered an uncontrolled flat spin, 9th kill credited. The second wave of 4 fighters approached from 2 o'clock high. Square 52 was down to 14,000 feet. Airspeed 140 miles per hour, approaching stall. One engine could not sustain controlled flight with a damaged wing and jammed rudder. Chen had only 15 rounds left in the upper turret. Lower turrets were offline. Blister positions were nearly empty. The tail gunner had perhaps 60 rounds. The 4 key 44 split into 2 pairs. Combat experience had taught Japanese pilots that even crippled B-29s retained lethal defensive firepower. Coordinated attacks from multiple angles were safest. The first pair dove from 2 o'clock high, the second from 4 o'clock level. Chen tracked the lead fighter of the first pair. Range 800 yards. The upper turret responded jerkily. Hydraulic fluid leaked from ruptured lines throughout the aircraft. He waited until 700 yards, centered the sight, and fired all 15 remaining rounds in a sustained burst. Tracers converged on an engine. Hits ripped across the cowling. The propeller shattered. Chunks of metal spun free. The engine seized. Smoke poured as the fighter rolled inverted and fell away. 10th confirmed kill. The upper turret clicked empty. Chen's primary defensive position was now useless. He scrambled to the connecting tunnel, to the unpressurized rear section. The right blister gunner had been wounded, shrapnel through his shoulder, and could not operate. Chen took his station. The second fighter from the first pair was already diving in, range 600 yards. Chen gripped the manual controls for the twin .50 caliber guns. No computer assistance, no hydraulic boost. Only raw muscle and sheer will guided the guns as Chen maneuvered the turrets. The key 44 opened fire at 400 yards. Cannon shells ripped through Square 52's right wing. Chen led the target and squeezed the trigger. Recoil hammered his shoulders. Spent casings clattered into the collection bag. The burst hit the fighter's cockpit. Canopy shattered. The key 44 snapped left and tumbled away, spinning. 11th kill, but the second pair was already committed. Approaching from 4 o'clock level, 300 yards apart, firing as they closed. One aimed for the flight deck, the other for the wing fuel tanks. The tail gunner engaged the trailing aircraft, hammering out a 5-second burst. Tracers stitched across the Ki-44's nose. Windscreen exploded. The fighter pulled up hard and broke off. 12th kill confirmed. Observed falling through clouds at 11,000 feet, pilot unseen. The lead of the pair pressed forward. Chen swung the upper turret, but the angle was wrong. The blister gun could not traverse far enough forward to reach for a clock high. He was blind. The left blister gunner, with better forward coverage, fired his last 30 rounds. The burst struck the fighter's left wing. Fuel sprayed from ruptured tanks. The aircraft banked hard right to break off. The damaged wing could not endure the stress. Spar failure. The wing tore away. The fighter tumbled. 13th kill. Square 52 had now shot down 13 Japanese fighters, 1 bomber, 1 crew. 13 confirmed kills, but the tally meant nothing to Chun. The bomber was at 12,000 feet, still descending. The jammed rudder made controlled flight nearly impossible. The damaged wing was failing. The third wave of 4 fighters was inbound, the last attackers. Japanese pilots operated under strict fuel limits. The Ki-44's combat radius at power settings used for dogfighting was roughly 200 miles. These fighters had been airborne 40 minutes. Perhaps 10 minutes remained before they would have to return to Naramesu. 10 minutes was all it took. The 4 Ki-44s formed a line astern, not a dive, not a high side pass. Sequential ramming attacks. For fighters, for deliberate collisions. The pilots had calculated. Even one successful hit and Square 52 would not survive. Chen watched through the blister window. 4 fighters at 14,000 feet, 2 miles behind, matching speed and altitude, ready for the final run. He had no ammunition. Tail gunner, empty. Upper turrets, offline. Lower turrets, offline. Defensive firepower, gone. 4 fighters, 0 bullets. 12,000 feet over the Pacific. The lead Ki-44 accelerated. Range, 1 mile. Slight dive to gain speed. Standard ramming doctrine required at least 300 miles per hour to guarantee structural failure. Slower strikes sometimes allowed the bomber to survive. Chun braced against the blister frame. Nothing he could do. No guns. No options. The commander attempted evasive maneuvers, but the jammed rudder limited authority. The B-29 could bank gently left or right, not violently jinked to shake the fighter's aim. Half a mile now. Details visible. Dark green camouflage. Red Heinemauer circle. Yellow propeller spinner marking the 47 centi. The Ki-44's nose aligned with Square 52's vertical stabilizer. 15 seconds to impact. Smoke trailed from the engine. Not battle damage, but mechanical failure. Nakajimaha. 109 radial engines overheated at maximum power over extended periods. Cylinder heads exceeded design limits. Engine seizure was common. Propeller stopped. Thrust lost. Intercept course abandoned. The pilot attempted to restart. Failed. The fighter fell below the bomber's tail. Ramming attack aborted. 14th kill credited. No bullets fired. No gunner claimed it. The Ki-44 was combat lost. Engine failure compounded by battle stress. Intelligence later confirmed the fighter crashed into Pacific, 18 miles east of Tokyo. Pilot did not survive. 14 confirmed kills, 1 B-29, 1 mission, the highest single mission total for any bomber in the Pacific theater. The remaining 3 fighters abandoned their ramming runs. Fuel critical. They turned northwest toward Naramesu, climbing away. The engagement was over. Square 52 had survived, but survival at 12,000 feet over hostile territory with 1 engine was not the same as reaching sea level at Saipan. Chun crawled back through the connecting tunnel to assess the damage with a flight engineer. The list was catastrophic. Number 1 engine destroyed in a ramming attack. Number 3 engine destroyed in a ramming attack. Number 4 engine shut down due to oil pressure loss. Number 2 engine still running, but cylinder head temperatures dangerously high. Left wing structurally compromised. right wing leaking fuel, hydraulic system limping at 15%, rudder jammed, bombardier dead, right blister gunner critically wounded, radio compass damaged, one life raft destroyed by enemy fire. Distance to Saipan, 1,512 miles. At current airspeed, flight time would be roughly 11 hours. Fuel calculations gave a maximum of 9 hours if number 2 engine held. The numbers did not add up. The flight engineer proposed a risky solution: restart number 4 engine. It had been shut down after the first ramming attack due to low oil pressure. Not destroyed, not beyond function, just precaution. Running it without sufficient oil risked total failure in 30 minutes. But 30 minutes of thrust might be enough to increase airspeed, reduce fuel burn, and extend range. The commander approved. Number 4 coughed, caught, and began producing rough thrust. Square 52 accelerated to 170 miles per hour, below normal cruise, but sufficient to slow the descent. Bomber leveled at 10,000 feet. The formation had continued to Tokyo without them. Mission completed. Bombs delivered. Other B-29s already turning south for Saipan. Alone over Pacific, 2 engines damaged, failing systems, and insufficient fuel. Chen moved the wounded gunner to a more comfortable position, applied pressure bandages. Morphine syringes in the first aid kit had frozen solid. Pain management impossible. The man remained conscious, but was losing blood. 11 hours to Saipan, if they made it at all. At 14:20, number 4 engine failed, 28 minutes after restart. Cylinder heads overheated. Internal components seized. Propeller windmilled for 6 seconds, then stopped. The commander feathered the propeller, cutting fuel and drag. Square 52 was back to 1 engine. Altitude dropped immediately, 10,000, 9,500, 9,000 feet. The Curtiss Wright No. 2 radio now held 32 tons of damaged bomber aloft alone. The navigator recalculated fuel. 7 hours remaining. Distance to Saipan, 900 miles. Still impossible. The flight engineer suggested jettisoning the auxiliary Bombay tanks. Empty, but their weight, about 400 pounds, was dead load. Released at 14:45, the bomber gained 100 feet. Fuel consumption improved by 6 minutes. Still not enough. Chen stayed at the right blister with the wounded gunner. Bleeding had stopped, but shock was setting in. Core temperature dropping in the unpressurized fuselage. Chen removed his heated flight suit liner and wrapped it around the man. Electrical elements still working, battery-powered, independent of failing aircraft systems. At 1500 hours, the navigator identified a potential waypoint, Uema, 640 miles away. Still held by Japanese forces, but American submarines sometimes patrol the area, rescuing down B-29 crews. If Square 52 could reach those waters, a submarine might pick them up. The commander rejected the plan. Ditching a B-29 at sea carried a survival rate of roughly 40%. With damaged wings and a jammed rudder, the odds were far worse. Bomber would likely break apart. Even survival in the water would be limited. Decision: continue toward Saipan. At 1600 hours, Square 52 crossed the international dateline. Navigator's mark: 700 miles to Saipan. Fuel remaining: 5 hours and 40 minutes. Gap narrowing, still dangerous. The flight engineer began shutting down non-essential electrical systems. NAV lights, cockpit instruments, heating, interior lights. Every system drew power from the functioning engine. Less load, less drag, better fuel economy. Temperature inside dropped to -40. At 1730, the returning B-29 formation passed overhead. 18,000 feet, tight formation, all engines operating normally. They flew 270 miles per hour, expected at Saipan in 4 hours. Aquar 52, 8,000 feet, 160 miles per hour. Estimated 7 hours to Saipan. Fuel exhaustion in 4 hours and 50 minutes. At 1800 hours, the right blister gunner lost consciousness. Breathing shallow, pulse weak. Chen monitored continuously, limited to frozen morphine and pressure bandages. At 1845, number 2 engine began running rough. Cylinder heads rising into red, oil pressure fluctuating. Engine had been at maximum continuous power for nearly 7 hours, rated for 4 under normal conditions. These were far from normal. Flight engineer reduced power slightly. Airspeed dropped to 150 miles per hour. Fuel economy improved, but time to destination increased. At 1900 hours, navigator recalculated 400 miles to Saipan. Fuel remaining 3 hours 20 minutes. Mathematics still impossible, but the gap narrowed. At 2000 hours, the right blister gunner stopped breathing. Chun attempted resuscitation. The frozen air made chest compressions almost impossible through the heavy flight suit. After 4 minutes, the flight engineer called the gunner's time of death. His body remained where it lay. Moving it served no purpose and consumed energy the crew could not spare. Number 2 engine continued to run. Cylinder head temperature hovered in the red. Oil pressure fluctuated between 40 and 60 pounds per square inch. Minimum acceptable, 50. The engine was perched on the edge of catastrophic failure. At 2100 hours, the navigator spotted navigation lights. A Navy destroyer appeared 20 miles to the east, patrolling south of Uema. It could offer no aid, no refueling, no physical assistance, but its presence confirmed the navigator's calculations were accurate. By 2145, fuel gauges read 30 minutes remaining. Distance to Saipan, 120 miles. Time to destination at current airspeed, 48 minutes. Not enough. The flight engineer transferred every remaining drop of fuel from the wing tanks to the number 2 engine's dedicated tank. Pumps, cross-feed valves, emergency systems, every ounce routed to the last functioning engine. At 2200 hours, Square 52 was 60 miles from Saipan. Fuel gauges, 15 minutes. Navigator spotted Ely Field's runway lights, southern end of the island, 8 miles away. Bomber at 4,000 feet, descending. Number 2 engine coughed from fuel starvation, caught, ran 20 seconds, cough again. Propeller windmilled, engine restarted, power fluctuating. 3 miles from the runway, 2,000 feet altitude. Tower cleared Square 52 for emergency landing. Crash crews ready. Ambulances lined the runway. Landing gear would not extend. Hydraulic failure. Flight engineer manually cranked emergency gear. Nose gear down. Left main down. Right main remained retracted, damaged by fighter attacks. 1 mile from the runway, 1,000 feet. Number 2 engine quit completely. Fuel exhausted. Propeller stopped. Square 52 became a glider. 32 tons of aluminum and steel, no power, asymmetric gear. Commander aimed for the runway. Airspeed 130 miles per hour. Descent 800 feet per minute. Too fast, too steep. Threshold crossed at 300 feet. Still too high. Bomber touched down halfway. 110 miles per hour. Left main collapsed. Aircraft slew left. Left wing struck the runway. Metal screamed. Sparks erupted. Square 52 skidded 1,500 feet. Came to rest in the dirt beside the runway. All surviving crew evacuated through the rear escape hatch. 10 men, bombardier and right blister gunner, did not survive. Aircraft declared a total loss. Structural damage beyond repair. Square 52 had flown 1,512 miles on a single engine, shot down 14 Japanese fighters in one mission, survived 2 ramming attacks, and brought 10 men home. If this story moved you like it moved us, do a favor. Hit that like button. Every like tells YouTube to show this story to more people. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're rescuing forgotten stories from dusty archives every day. Stories of gunners and crews who fought with 50 caliber guns and determination. Real people, real heroism. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia. Our community stretches across the world. You're not just a viewer. You're helping keep these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if someone in your family served. Just let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure Chen and Square 52's crew do not disappear into silence. These men deserve to be remembered, and you're helping make that happen.